Good evening and welcome to Virginia's Views and Vibes. I'm your host, Jenny Gardner. Tonight we are taking an inside look at the opioid crisis, and my two very special guests are Joe Maffey and Joni Maffey, and they are co-founders of the Mighty Drum. I got it. Let's make that the first question because I screwed up a little bit. Talk about the Mighty Drum. What is it exactly?
Okay, well, Jenny, first, thank you very much for having me and my wife, Joni, here. Mighty Drum is a 501c3 nonprofit that we developed after we lost our son, Brian, to an overdose in 2015. So we wanted to do something to help give back. We wanted to do something to help the community. So I've been in the music business most of my life. So what I did was I went back to a lot of the people that I grew up with in the music business. One of them was the manager for Aerosmith. So we sat back and we talked about different ways that we can incorporate music, because that's how the name Mighty Drum got into it. I'm a drummer. Okay. So we decided we wanted to use music as a vehicle to raise money for our program. And our program is called Rides to Recovery. And what we do is we supply transportation so people can get to treatment and detox and help those that are struggling. So once we decided that we wanted to get into the transportation side of it, we went around to a lot of different organizations, shelters and hospitals and different groups, and we asked, what is one of the main problems? And they verified that transportation is one of the big issues that they have struggled with. So, and it's one of the things that's most overlooked. People never think about transportation,
right.
But without the transportation, we can't get the clients to the treatment that they need. So that's kind of like how Mighty Drum started, all right? So we have different fundraisers. We have different things that we use to raise money so that we can bring kids to treatment. And we have a fundraiser coming up October 26th at the American Legion Hall in Waltham. And it's called the Monster Mash. And it's to raise money, and it's a Halloween party. So everyone can dress up, and we have trophies, and we have raffles, and we have the Mighty Drum Band, which is a band that I put together. So once a year we get together. Last year we had James Montgomery, we had David Hull from the Joe Perry Project, we had George McCann, who plays with Muddy Waters and Steve Perry, and all these different people. We have Jeff Levine. He's a New York session guy. He came up and he plays with Bruce Springsteen and Hall & Oates and McCartney Band. So we had a really good team. And this year, Mighty Drum Band's going to do it just solo. And but it's a really good band. A lot of local guys are involved in it. And we have raffles, and the Bruins are helping us, and the Red Sox, and the Patriots, and the Celtics, and we have this huge, gigantic trophy for the best costume.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's going to be a blast.
I'm going to just back up. So
sure.
This is a 26, and it supports the Mighty Drum, which is a 501c3. And it's at the American Legion Hall in Waltham on Waverly. Is it Waverly Oaks?
Waverly Oaks Road, yeah.
Okay. And you can buy tickets at the door, but as well, you can also contact you, J. Maffey, Maffei,
yep.
at mightydrum.org, and you can get more information and tickets with that. So I'm just going to kind of back up. So you started this Mighty Drum, and then you're really the nuts and bolts behind getting this all together, because you do the administrative, Joni.
Yes.
So for most people, myself included, I would look at this and be totally overwhelmed. How did you think to do rides? Strictly because of talking to Wellesley, Lowell hospitals and things like that? The biggest problem was, how did you get to getting the rides? How did that come into play?
Well, we did a lot of brainstorming, and as Joe said, he wanted to do something. My son was in a documentary, and it's called Beyond the Wall.
That's on YouTube?
Yes, it's actually streaming right now on World Channel.
Okay.
And it's streaming now. It was on
it's PBS.
PBS, World Channel, yeah. But after watching that, and it follows 5 gentlemen that have just been released from prison, and they followed them to see how it is to get re-entry into the world, and they ended up going down the road of recovery because it went hand in hand, they found. So after we saw the project and all of the good work that we do, we met Louis Diaz, which is the main character, and all the work he does for reaching out and for re-entry and all the people that need help. He goes right out on the streets. We were motivated to do something ourselves. And with Joe had unable to drive all his life, that was one thing that was really hard for him to get around. And my son as well had lost his license, so everywhere he went, he walked and had to get rides. So it seemed to be a roadblock for a lot of people who don't drive or aren't able to. And we found that they had help available, just there was a lot of problems trying to get there. So we thought, hey, this is something simple, it's something needed, and that's how it began.
One of the things was when you back a few years ago, if you were in the rears of child support, you weren't able to get your license. So what happened was when they would be doing Beyond the Wall and having showings, they always brought up a friend of ours, Peter Katusian.
I was just going to ask
Sheriff
you about
Katusian,
Sheriff Katusian.
right? And they would have, sometimes they'd have a forum with, 400, 300 people. And at the end, they would always ask, does anyone have anything to say? Does anyone have any questions? And I'd always be in the background,
And right up.
And I'd start presenting that problem. I started saying, listen, this is what happened to our son. He got out of prison. He's trying to get to a job, and you guys took his license. So now he can't get it. So talking with Peter, we were able to really push legislature, and they lifted that bill. So now people can actually get ways to get to work because of that. So that also motivated me. Like Joni said, I never drove because I have a vision problem. So I said, hey, something's aligning here. This transportation thing. I'm fighting to get these kids transportation. I always struggle with transportation. So the bell just sort of ran off. We need to find transportation, because if it's just Brian, there's other kids that need transportation too.
And when you say reentry, that's key, because how can you continue what they're trying to do without getting them there, without the transportation? And Peter Katusian, Sheriff Katusian, actually is one of the finest. He was involved with the documentary, the video that we're going to see. Is that correct?
He was involved with Beyond the Wall, because they actually went into prisons, and Peter set that up so they could bring the cameras and do the work inside the prisons.
Okay, let's show that first
video. I don't know, do we have that? Do we have something from
We
Beyond
may
the Wall?
not, but we have the video that with from Walford, this one.
Well, this is the song that he wrote, that Joe wrote. This is a video itself,
There are people who can listen to the sound in the air, rise above the noise in the air.
We might.
Absolutely should.
Sound not heard.
Wow. So Joe wrote that song, and I think that's really key, and he is going to sing it on the 26th. He's saying he might, but I think we could hear it in person. Tell me about that song. That's really moving.
That was a song. Joni and I went to Recovery Fest, and that was last October, and that was down at where the Red Sox, the Pawtucket Sox played at McCoy Stadium in Rhode Island. And they had a big sober festival, one of the first major sober festivals in the country. So there was no alcohol sold. All right, and they had a pretty good turnout, and they had some pretty big name acts there. I mean, they had Jace Montgomery. It was funny because we weren't going to go. And my friend Jeff Levine, who I told you about earlier, he called us up and said, hey, you guys coming down? And we're like, nah, I don't know. He goes, come on, I got backstage passes, we'll hang out. I said, okay, we'll go. So we went down there. There was a lot of guys from Steely Dan, from Boston, from Santana, and a lot of big names. And the main act was Macklemore. They had Macklemore there. And the governor spoke, and the person that hosted it was
Mackenzie Phillips.
Mackenzie Phillips from One Day at a Time was there. And I'll tell you a quick funny story.
Sure.
We were in the backstage, and Joni says to me, hey, there's Mackenzie over there. So I pop and go, yo, Mackenzie, come here. And Joni's like, what are you doing?
I don't know you.
She doesn't even know me. But that's how I am, you know? And she goes, hey, how are you? And I said, hey, I'm Joe. And I start telling about my story. You know, I start telling because what Mackenzie does now is she's running a service center in East LA for people who are addicts because
Yeah.
she had a bad problem
Yes.
herself.
Yeah.
You know, so we changed business cards and we connected. But from that, I was really overwhelmed because the woman that put that on spent over $500,000 for that show.
Wow.
And she wasn't expecting any money back. She just did it. She was very well to do, and she just wanted to do something. And I was really taken back by that, her generosity. So about a month later, I just woke up out of a sound sleep, and I had the song in my head. So I always have this notepad next to my bed. So I wrote the song, the entire song. And I came downstairs and she was having coffee and I said, hey honey, you know, what do you think of this song? And she started reading the lyrics, she started crying. And I said,
It's beautiful.
I said, we got something. So I called up my buddies that are, you know, I play music with. I said, hey guys, I got this tune and I want to do it. So we ended up writing the song and we recorded it in Waltham. And I wanted to do a video because whenever I write a song, I have a visual that goes along with it. Some people can do that. For me, it's easy. I see the story unfold in my head. So originally, we were going to use Joni, and it was going to be about our son Brian. But because he passed, I didn't want anything negative. I didn't want to promote the negative. We're trying to promote the positive. Mighty Drum is all about positive, inspiration, hope.
Yep.
You know, to
Right.
help these kids that are in recovery.
Right.
You know, so that's our message. That's like our mantra.
Which is why we have the big events that we do, because it's a lot of excitement, it's a lot of good times.
Yep.
You have
It's
a
a
great
celebration.
time, and it's a
Right.
celebration. So
Yeah.
you're doing it and feeling good about it, and it's you know, it's not a very somber time.
Right.
Yeah.
And other families, and for anyone to think that it doesn't affect every family, it certainly does in some level. So other families can be a part of this and realize they can get on, they can go on, they can help. And
Right.
that's why it's so important. The 501c3 is so important because that's a great way of you make the donation,
Yep.
you go to these things, and you can say, oh, I can claim it now. So it's excellent to do.
Right.
And it also gives, I think, other families some normalcy. This happens,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
It's a unity.
yes.
Everybody knows
yeah.
somebody.
Now, we call it the tribe.
Yeah.
You know, catch the vibe, join the tribe. So we
Yeah.
call it a tribe of all these. And we have so many, you know, other mothers and fathers and
Yeah.
families that have lost their children, you know, or people that are even struggling. They'll call me up. They'll say, Joe, you know, we just found out that my son's using. You know, what do
Yeah.
we do? And I direct them to different coping groups and places like that, or different organizations that deal with strictly that. You know, because we're just a transportation company, but because
Right.
we deal with all these different aspects, we have connections to send people to where they could get help and stuff like that.
And
you
that's
know?
where Maureen came in.
Yeah, that's where Maureen came. The girl and the daughter that's in the video that we did.
Okay, yeah.
So one of the mother that's in it. Anybody who wants to see the full video, they can go on
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
and look up "Rise Above the Noise" and the Fire Heart, and you'll be able to watch the entire video, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So there's a mother and daughter, and the mother, I called her up, and her name is Maureen Kavanaugh, and I said, Maureen, I wrote the song, and we'd like to have you and your daughter Katie be in it. So she said, let's meet. So we met for coffee, and I let her hear the song. Now, Maureen's been through so much with her daughter. She's like iron. And she heard the song, and she started crying.
She wrote an amazing book.
Yeah, she wrote a book. And
You can say the name of it.
Yep, it's called "If You Love Me," and it's
By Maureen?
By Maureen Kavanaugh,
Yeah.
and it's her daughter's journey through the opioid crisis, and it's on the New York Times bestseller list.
It's a great story. It's great.
So we contacted Maureen, and we had her daughter Katie come, and she's the young lady that you guys have been watching, the pretty
Yep,
young girl.
yep.
And she got addicted to heroin when she was 15, and she's 27 now, and she's got 2 years clean.
Oh,
So it's great, but her journey is amazing. She like overdosed over 13 times, and she's been in rehabs from Florida to Maine, and just the whole experience that those two went through is just remarkable. So
So it's
I was-
perfect to use because it was a success story.
you know, it is
It's-
perfect because and I think I told you before the show, in many ways, we only hear about the ones that didn't make it because of, obviously, obituaries.
Sure.
And friends will send obituaries, and they'll be very honest and say, drug overdose.
And they have the vigils. You always
Yep.
see about the vigils,
Yep.
but we like to have a celebration.
Yes,
because
and
we
that's
celebrate the life.
right, and it's celebrating the life, and that there's hope. I think there always has to be hope for
Right.
the
It can be done.
user, and
It's
it can,
hard,
right?
but it can
yeah,
be done.
right.
See, we know so many people. We know so many success stories
Yeah.
that we try to promote the success stories.
Absolutely.
People that have gone on to become painters, they become writers, they're working in different businesses now, and many of them go back to rehabs and now they're helping others.
Yeah.
So by giving back, by helping others, it's a certain way to help your own sobriety
Pay
and
it
help
forward.
heal. Because what helps us heal
Yeah.
after losing our son is
Right.
to help these other kids. So the more we help, the more we feel like we're honoring our son Brian by not forgetting, that
Right.
these kids have a long way to go. So,
Right.
that's what we try to do. We try to inspire other people to join up and see it, because the media doesn't quite show it as much as it's affecting.
Right.
We've lost more to heroin overdoses in the last year than in Vietnam and the 2 wars after that combined.
Yeah.
And we lost how many we lost in 1 year, and it's unbelievable, But that's what they talk about. How many have been saved? That's what we're there to talk about.
Right.
How many kids have been saved? How many
That's
kids
right.
are in recovery? How many kids are doing great?
So your inspiration is to spread the positive and the kindness
Yep.
and show the hope.
Yeah.
What's your outlet? How do you, when you're having a bad day, do you play the drums? Do you go back and play what do you do?
I don't really have a bad day,
Wow.
really. For the most part, I don't. I mean,
He smiles all the
I
time.
mean, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, and but really,
But you do have your drum sessions, and
I
that's
ha-
out of.
I teach
work,
martial
too.
arts.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
So I'm always exercising. I'm always working out. I'm always surrounding myself by young people.
Yeah.
I love to be around young people, young musicians, young kids that are training to learn how to defend themselves, to get healthy,
Yeah.
because that youth keeps me young.
Yeah.
It keeps me young. I'm always trying to keep up with those guys. So so I like to.
What about you? Just you throw yourself into your work or into the project?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, I do
can
a lot
tell.
of I do a lot of marketing,
Yeah.
things like that. So that seems to be the graphic arts is where my love is.
Wow.
So creating things again the same way, different way, but
Right.
the creating things is.
So now, what is Fireheart?
Fireheart is a music label that I created
Okay.
so that when young musicians are trying to get started and I write songs, I bring them in and they can, if they're a singer, they can sing one of the songs I wrote. If they're a guitar player, they can play. If they're a sax player, they can play. And it sort of helps springboard them into the music business.
Okay.
And so we write songs and we bring everybody in, and it's the fire in our heart. That's kind of like where we got it.
So I want to show just one, maybe if we have time, another couple of pictures, and Joni and Joe will talk a little bit about them. So you can put one up. Okay. Is that at a fundraiser or? Do you
That was
remember?
actually one of your interviews that you did at the Waltham Table.
Oh, was that? Yeah, I think that we did something at Waltham Cable,
Okay.
and that was that
Oh,
one.
all right. Now that one.
And that's my son.
Oh,
He did a radio interview, and it was part of also the Beyond the Wall filming that they did. And that was also,
That was me.
There you go.
Yep, we did a.
that was the
was that
Beyond
right?
the Wall fundraiser that we did,
Oh,
too,
that
yeah.
was okay. Beyond the Wall
That's when we
fundraiser that
began.
we did. There's
And
just a
that's the
couple of
Mighty
me-
Drum,
the Mighty Drum.
and that was at our fundraiser. And we do everything in memory of my son. He
Sure.
was a fantastic barber, so,
Ah.
and
Talk a little bit about the fundraiser again. I want you to talk a little bit about that. And you're speaking on the 23rd at Newton Wellesley Hospital?
Yep, Newton Wellesley Hospital.
Let me
what we do is we got contacted by Marion Ryan,
Yep.
who was the Middlesex District Attorney.
And I have to put a plug in for Marion because she does great work. She works with Peter Katushin as well, I believe.
she does.
And they do a lot. So I just want to put a plug in and a thank you to her. But, so go ahead.
So, we do a lot of work at Lowell Memorial Hospital,
Okay.
Lowell General, and a Circle of Care unit, and they use our services all the time. So, we had a big article written up for us in the Lowell Sun, and then from the Lowell Sun, the next day we got a call from Lowell Public Health Department. So word started moving around,
Plus
you
the
know.
Fox 25.
Plus
too.
we were on Fox 25.
That springboarded a lot of
So a
stuff.
lot of stuff started happening for us quickly, and so we got a call from Marion Ryan's office, and they heard what we were doing, and they wanted to know if we would come up and speak. So, of course, I said yeah, because it's hard to shut me up. This is what I do.
It's okay.
So I said yeah, I'll be there. And
He shakes the room up.
they got first hand of having me on board that day because it was they had a long conference table, and they had the superintendent there and the fire chief and all these different community leaders and different people in the community there, and usually they have about 10 or 12 community leaders come from all around all the different communities. And they're all sitting in there, and they're all sitting at their table, and they're talking. They'd introduce him and him. And then I said to Joni, I said to her, I'm going up there with Marion. And she said, you what? I said, yeah, I'm going up the front with Marion. She starts smiling, right, because she knows how I am.
You will.
So as soon as she goes, when I introduced Joe Matthew from Mighty Drum, I went right up front, and I stood right next to Marion, and she's looking at me like, what are you doing up here? And, it said I needed the attention of the entire room, and I wasn't going to get it in the little corner in the back, so I had to go up center stage and capture my audience. Because
You have to.
every time I go, my job is to recruit. Is to get people. I'm on your show, so I want everybody that's watching this show to become part of it, to be part of our thing.
And definitely try and make the event on the 26th because that sounds amazing, absolutely amazing. You've got some heavy hitters in there.
Yeah, and we're excited because it's very positive. People are dancing, and people are buying raffles, and we have all sorts of gift certificates from restaurants, and it's just a great time, and that's the way for all the workers and people that help us to come together.
Yeah.
It's a way for us to come together, because we're separate. People on the organizations they're all separate doing their own things, and this is a way to bring everybody together. And that's really why I wrote that song, Rise Above the Noise.
Yeah.
I wrote it because I wanted all the 501s in Massachusetts and actually pretty much through the nation to know that we
All
have
the
an anthem.
organizations, yeah.
We have an anthem. We have a song that we can sing. We are people who care.
Right.
And that's really what it's about. It's people who have a heart, people who care, people who have love for other human beings that want to help other human beings.
Right.
Besides all the other stuff that goes on in the world, this is one thing that brings us all together. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter
right.
whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, black, white, tall, short. None of that matters. Rich, poor. This disease affects everybody. So this is a way that we can have our own national anthem, so to speak, and we can all, have a group hug and sort of be part of the same process of helping these kids survive and make it into recovery.
Create a movement.
Tell me going forward, are you hoping to get like Newton Wellesley involved and have every sort of, so that there's almost a chapter everywhere? Kind of, sort of.
We did a show about a year and a half ago, and I was talking to about 800 people in this field, and I said, listen, this is when I'm starting, this is what I'm doing, and we're going to start right here, and I'm going to get everyone involved in the north and the south and the east and the west of Massachusetts.
Yep.
We're going to contact all the shelters, all the hospitals. We're going to be able to help everyone. And then when I'm done here, we're going to go to New Hampshire, and then we're going to go to Rhode Island, and then we're going to have everybody in the northeast, and then the southeast, and hopefully we're going to get the whole country involved. We can get more corporate people involved. We can get some of the bigger money. I think I told you one of our people that we work with was the manager for Aerosmith.
Yes.
So we have a connection in the music business. So if we needed to reach in to get some big names, we could do that. But we need the funding. to be able to reach these people.
There's so many services we can give. I mean, even the VA contacted us because there's a lot there.
Yes.
We wanted to be able to bring them to counseling appointments, to job interviews, to some have to go to court for probation, so that they have this service. Right now, because we're still small and we're growing, we zero it in just on
the ride.
detox and treatment.
Just for
right
detox
now.
and treatment right at the moment. The kids that really need it the most. That's the first step, is to get
But
these
we
kids
want to be able
into
to increase
detox.
to everyone for everything, and someday we're going to get
It's a
there.
big task.
It is a big task, and I'm just gonna put this up on my show page as well, but I just want to mention it again. And it's again American Legion Hall, Waltham, Waverly Oaks Road, and it's J Maffei, Maffei at mightydrum.org. Look at it and come to the event. It'll be a blast, number one, and it's a good way to help. Let's show, because I saw 4 minutes, let's show again the clip with the song that Joe wrote, and play that for Tiny, and then I just want your last words.
Okay.
For those you judge might never
You
die.
can say whatever you want. You get 4 minutes to
Of the noise you hear us cry. There are people who can listen to the sound of the air, rise above the noise in the air. The sound not heard.
Again, beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
she's a success story.
She's a
knock on
success
wood.
story, yep.
That's awesome. So I'm going to give you both the last word. You have about 2 minutes.
Okay. So we have some things coming up.
Okay.
Okay. I'm still writing. So we just got out of the studio. I wrote another song called Breathe, and it's about suicide, teenage suicide. We hit a lot of different issues. So we just got that
A
song.
lot of social issues.
A lot of social issues. We have a book coming out in December. I write children's books.
Oh my
So
God.
this is coming out between.
You have to get them when they're young. We have to
have-
stop this when they're young.
So
it's
this
a great
it's
story.
Called, it's called The Adventures of Muscles the Mighty Drum, and it's from ages 6 to 10. And
my gosh.
this characters are little tiny children. They're all little drums, and it's about a young little child. His name is Albert Addiction. So he learns a little bit about how to cope with his addiction, and he learns the different songs and stuff to help build character.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he goes back to his family of addiction in the streets, and they help get these kids out. And there's a series that we're working on that goes along with that.
Wow.
The next one's about bullying. There's a one after that about
Yeah.
self-image. So we did all these different things. And we also just got contacted by McLean's Hospital.
Yep.
And they have a thing called Deconstructing Stigma, which they asked me to be part of, to talk about the stigma, because our mantra
Of mental health, yeah.
is, we are one drum beating against the stigma of addiction.
Yeah.
So people have a view of what addiction is. Most people believe it's about some dirty junkie behind this dumpster, and it's really not. Now it's average people of different ages. It's policemen, it's plumbers, firefighters,
Yes.
soccer
Yes.
moms, teachers.
Yes.
It's affected everybody. So I guess in closing, what we just want to do is thank you for letting us come here
yes, thank you.
and tell our story a little bit, and hopefully reach out to some of your viewers and inspire them to help others as we want them to.
Yeah. And come to the fundraiser, and it's saying wrap up. I hope you're going to bring your books to the fundraiser and sell the children's books. That's awesome. And so, another reason to like Joe on his Facebook page, on his, website, JMAFFIE, EI at mightydrum.org. And have fun, come to the event, and thanks for joining us. See you again in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Welcome to Understood.org, a free online resource for parents of kids with learning and attention issues, with personalized recommendations, tools, and expert advice.